As River Song would say in Doctor Who.
Spoilers.
Hello everybody, welcome back to the channel. My name is Kevin, I am a geek, and you are watching Kevin the Geek. I am on my way to 100 subscribers. Please do consider subscribing if you are new. Now, 2 days ago, on Saturday, I released my spoiler-free review of the new Marvel movie, Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania. If you want to know my thoughts on the movie, but you haven't yet seen it and you don't want any spoilers, then please do check out that video. I will leave a link so that you can go and watch it for yourself. Once you've seen the movie, come on back and you can watch this video. Are you all ready? I will be talking spoilers in this one. This is your last warning. If you don't want spoilers, go away now. Okay, so Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania. It is a bit of a mixed movie, in my opinion. I think it's trying to do a lot of setup for this movie. And when I think of this movie compared to the other, just the Ant-Man movies, this one does feel a little bit different, I'm not going to lie. The first two Ant movies, they were kind of lighter, a little bit more fluffy, if you like, and were nice kind of side pieces. Here, they're trying to make Scott Lang and Ant-Man be a much bigger hero, particularly after everything he did in Avengers Endgame, where he obviously kind of helped save the universe. He's, you know, in a way, a much more credible hero. In this movie, though, my biggest issue, I think, is that it felt like a lot of a rehashing of stuff that we've really already seen. And there wasn't that much new stuff for Ant-Man, really, in this. Now, starting off, the main kind of bulk of the movie does take place in the quantum realm. Really, the first maybe 10 to 15 minutes of the movie, and then the final 5 minutes maybe, are set in the normal world, the normal universe, and then you go into the quantum realm. And the trailers, I think, have done a little bit of a disservice, because I think that what they seem to be leaning into is the whole idea that Scott makes a deal with Kang in order to go back in time and get to relive his kind of younger years with Cassie, who of course he missed her basically growing up because that he got stuck in the quantum realm and the whole thing with the blip and everything like that. And that leads me to one of my first things I kind of mentioned in my spoiler-free video, and I will briefly touch on it. I mean, I could have spoken about it in that video, because it's not really a spoiler as such. But Cassie refers to Hank as Grandpa Hank in a scene right near the start of the movie, and for some reason that bugged me. It really, really did, because there seemed no rhyme or reason that she would refer to him as Grandpa Hank. The only relation between Cassie and Hank is the fact that her father's girlfriend is her father. But they're not married or anything like that. It's not like she's grown up with them, because this is the other thing you have to take into consideration. Hank was also blipped out of existence, so he would have missed out of all of her growing up. And you know, it's a little thing, but had he raised her, because Hank was maybe the only one around, and, you know, Scott was around, Hope was around, Janet, you know, Cassie's mum, Cassie's stepfather, if all of them people hadn't been around and Hank was the only one, then I could have kind of forgiven it a little bit more so. Like I said, very minor thing there, but it just bugged me. Now, I did mention in this that I felt that there was a bit too much reliance on CGI in this movie. You know, don't get me wrong, everything I see within this movie, it looks really good. Apart from a certain secondary villain. Now, I didn't mention, well, I sort of mentioned him in my spoiler-free review, but I'm going to talk about it properly here now. MODOK. MODOK is in this movie, and they have gone with a different version of MODOK. That's a different person. What they've gone with here is making Darren Cross, who was the antagonist in the first Ant-Man movie. They've turned him into MODOK. And it was annoying. Really frustrating, this character. I mean, one, the CGI looked bad. You know, because they tried to make it a really realistic face, but it was so enormous, and you could tell it didn't quite fit in with everything else. And just something didn't feel right in it for me. It was, you know, like I said, you could consider it a little thing, but for me, every time I saw his face, it just threw it off. And maybe they could have gone away with doing the bit where they kind of have the helmet over it. That, I think, would have looked a bit better, rather than actually seeing the actual face a lot of it. And then the character was seemingly given a sort of a redemption, but it didn't feel earned at all. Just in a way, kind of like how his turn into a villain didn't really feel earned as well in the first movie. You know, it happened so quickly. Here, you know, you have the first scene, he comes in and he's trying to kill everybody. You know, Kang sends him to go and kill everybody. And honestly, you know, he was attacking a lot of people throughout the movie. Then all of a sudden, he kind of gets knocked to the side, and Cassie basically says to him, "Don't be a dick." That's it. And then, you know, a few minutes later, it looks like Kang's about to beat everyone else up, and then all of a sudden, here comes MODOK / Darren, and, you know, he destroys the kind of shield thing that he's got going around him, and he's going, "I am not a dick!" You know, and then I think he died. I mean, that's the suggestion that he gave, is that he sacrificed his life to kind of redeem himself. But yeah, like, it just didn't feel earned at any point. Hank was hardly in the movie, in my opinion, and from what he was in the rest of the Ant-Man series, I felt he was a bit of a letdown. Janet was good. There was a lot that Janet did, and I liked seeing some of the past stuff that you had seen her do in the quantum realm. But at the same time, she just felt like a bit of a plot development piece within it. Bill Murray was a massive letdown. I was so excited when I saw him pop up in the trailers, but he was basically in one scene. He mostly spoke a bit of dialogue, and that was it. For me, like, Jeff Goldblum was a really good use of a really great actor. Here, Bill Murray more felt like Jude Law was when he was in Captain Marvel. Really good actor, but felt wasted in the role. And that's a shame. A lot of the action sequences felt kind of repetitive of other things that I've seen in the past. But the main bulk of things I have a gripe with is the whole thing between Scott and Kang. Because the general idea is Kang needs to power up his ship so that he can go off and do loads of time traveling and killing other variants of himself and destroying universes, which basically the guys only know because when Janet tried to help him in her early days when Kang was stranded, it turns out his ship is sort of telepathic, and so she touched it when they finally got it working, and that's when she knew about his plans. But everything in the trailers seemed to suggest that they were going to go off and do this thing and maybe affect time and have some sort of time travel shenanigans. Basically, the only reason Scott goes on the mission to save the thing that's powering the ship is because literally Kang has Cassie at gunpoint, effectively. And I would have liked to have seen something a bit more where Scott's a bit more trusting and believes Kang, and you see a little bit more of the manipulation side of Kang rather than just outright bang, bang, bang. But don't get me wrong, everything I saw is really setting up that Kang is going to be a really powerful villain. Now, I don't know whether it'll be this version of Kang, because they seem to suggest that he might have died in this version. And then you had a post-credit scene, which, admittedly, I only saw the first post-credit scene. I didn't stay till the very end because I had to get off to go to work. But the first one seemed to suggest that there was this sort of council of Kangs, and they brought in all these different variants of Kang. So there was this humongous chamber, and there they all were. And you had brute Kangs and seemingly philosophical Kangs, and all these various different variants of him. So yeah, it was a good movie, but it didn't really seem for me to give me anything new as a movie. And it is very much a setup. And this is the thing I felt most disappointed with. Because of the fact that Phase 4 seemed like such a massive development kind of thing. You're introducing all these new characters and all these different ideas and theories and various different things. It felt to me like this, being the first movie of Phase 5, is going to be where you start to see more things. And maybe it was just my expectations going into this. But this is the thing, and I think this is what everyone forgets when it comes to Marvel, is because we've had such a peak with Endgame that you have to kind of reset a little bit. And if you think back, the first movie of Phase 2 was Iron Man 3, and that also wasn't the greatest movies. It was reasonable, but it still wasn't great. And so I am more than happy to let this be a kind of by the side thing. I would go back and I would watch it again. And I would recommend people to watch it, even if you're not a big, massive fan of the Marvel stuff and you just want to see a bit of fun shenanigans, because the stuff you see is good. But it's not the best. For me, it is the Iron Man 3 of this phase, And I'm looking forward to seeing the other stuff that comes through moving forward. But those are just my thoughts. Please comment down below what your thoughts are once you've seen this movie as well. Please do subscribe to the channel. Remember, I am on my way to 100 subscribers, and I would love to help you get me there. Coming up later this week, we have Doctor Who review of the two-part story, The Impossible Planet and the Satan Pit. And we also have Ted Lasso, Season 1, Episode 8, The Diamond Dogs. And then coming up on Sunday, we'll have my live stream of Hogwarts Legacy. All of my videos go live at 6 o'clock UK time every single day. And the streaming will normally be 6 o'clock, but again, I'll always have to depend on how my day's going with that. But for now, my name's Kevin, I am a geek, and you have been watching Kevin the Geek. Goodbye.